Alright, what's going on, guys? It's your boy Scrub here. Today I've got a story time of a time I witnessed this dude freak out because his dad got him, quote-unquote, the wrong car. So yeah, I figured it would be a great story time for y'all, and without further ado, let's get right into it. I'm getting quiet now. Lay low when you reach zone, piping down, making house. Alright, so this is something that I ended up witnessing about 2 weeks ago. I took my car in for an oil change and had some other stuff that needed to get fixed on it, and, I was gonna be stuck there for a couple hours, so I would just ended up walking around the dealership looking at cars, because cars are cool, and, I had nothing better to do other than look at my phone. Had gotten kind of bored of that, so I just started walking around looking at all the cars in the showroom, and as I was doing that, I ended up hearing a little bit of a commotion, and so I look over to see what's going on, and I see a bunch of workers opening the doors. Like the way a car showroom set up, they have these doors that can open where they can drive a car into the showroom. And so I see them opening up the doors, the door opens, I hear an engine, and in rolls this, very, very brand new looking BMW M5. If you're not a car person, it's just like a very fancy car, it's a very expensive car. And this one in particular that they're rolling into the showroom right now has a big bow on it, so, I was assuming it was a gift of some sort. And as I'm watching them bring this car into the showroom and assuming that it's going to be a gift because it has a big bow on it, I hear these people walking behind me and they're having a conversation, and it's not even like I'm trying to overhear it. When people are just talking so loud you can't help but overhear their conversation? That's kind of what goes on. So as I'm watching them open the door and bring this car in, I hear some people behind me, and the conversation goes a little bit like this. Well, I just hope that my son wants the car, he was telling me the other day that he wants a coupe, so I hope that he doesn't hate that it's a four-door, which was a little bit confusing to me to hear. The car that they were bringing in, like a BMW M5, is an insane car to give a kid. I just Googled it, and they start at $105,000, so it's not a Ferrari, it's not a Lambo. That being said, it's insanely expensive to give some unexperienced driver a mortgage to just drive around real quick. I would not want the pressure of a $100,000 car, dude. Not to mention, imagine buying someone a $100,000 car and then having a conversation. Oh, I hope that they like it. They told me that they wanted something different, so I hope they don't hate it. If I ended up giving somebody a car that was $100,000, first of all, I've got to be this got to be my favorite person on the planet. That's a lot of money. But on top of that, if I gave it to them and they were like, meh, I don't like it, I want something with two doors, I'd be like, yo, that's crazy. I guess you're getting nothing, because that's absurd. You better get back there and cry. That better be a fake reaction you just gave me. Regardless, I overhear this conversation, and they end up moving this car, and the people that were talking about it end up walking with it over to where the seating area is for people that were waiting. So whatever, I go over there and I sit down. They had a bunch of chairs and some magazines that you could read while you were waiting for your car to get worked on, or if somebody you knew was doing paperwork or whatever. And as I'm sitting there, I started reading some stuff on my phone, and I overheard another conversation, and it was like, all right, my son's gonna be here any minute. I want you to make sure that you film his reaction when he walks in here and sees his car. So I look up and I see this lady and the same dad that had been talking about the car, and this lady has a nice camera, and she's like, wow, that's so awesome, I bet you he's gonna be so excited. Wow, this is such an incredibly nice car. No way, it's his first one. That's so cool. Just kind of hyping him up a little bit, and the dad's like, yeah, I think he's gonna love it. So like I said, just get ready to film it so you get his reaction. And then this car pulls up, and out steps this kid that basically looks like a wannabe TikToker dude. If you merged every famous TikToker together and just took the average of what they would look like, that's basically what this dude looked like. And he walks in and just it has this look on his face of I'm just annoyed to be here, right? And he sees his dad and he walks over to him and he's like, yo, dad, what's up? Why did you tell me that, I needed to come here? And the dad is like, well, son, there's something that I want to give you. And he starts to go on this long, heartfelt speech, about how the day that his son was born was the best day of his life, and he's so proud of him. And, that they've been through a lot as father and son, but one thing that they've always bonded over is the fact that they have each other. It was a very sweet speech, I can't even lie. And at the end, he's like, and now that you're 17, I figured you needed a car of your own, so I figured I would get you one, so that one is yours. And he points to the car that has the bow on it, the one that I had seen earlier. Now, obviously, my parents didn't buy me a $100,000 car, so I can't tell you how I would react. But that being said, even if tomorrow my parents were like, hey, we bought you an M5, 5. I would probably cry tears of joy and then poop myself a little bit. So, I was expecting this kid to just start freaking out. His dad just told him that he's getting this sick car. Any car should make you freak out if you're a kid and you get it, bro. If you get like a 2002 minivan, it's still a car. It's a better car than the one you had yesterday. Oh yeah, because none, any car is better than no car, which is why it was so confusing that it almost looks like the TikTok dude was like upset with the fact that he had gotten his car given to him right now. His face literally contorted in a frown, looking like a clown trying to be scary who paints on the frown type of vibe, and he's just not looking thrilled. You can see that he's like arms crossed, pouting basically, and I'm like, ooh, this is not gonna go well. I could tell that from body language alone, and that's when he opened his mouth. What is this, Dad? It's so ugly. It's a parent car. What is wrong with you? I told you I wanted a 2-door coupe. What is wrong with you? Are you listening to me? Do you need to go back to school, or do you know how many doors this has? Can you count? Obviously, it was a 4-door car, but I'm just kind of flabbergasted that he's screaming at the dad, talking about how ugly it is and like, oh, you don't listen to me. And then he looks at the dad all surprised after his rant, as if the dad is supposed to just take that and have absolutely no reaction. And before the dad can reply, I'm just sitting there stupefied in my chair trying to act like I'm not paying attention, and like, I can't believe what I'm hearing. I don't understand how you could be upset with this, bro. Like, even if you personally don't like the car, it's still sick and it's a free car that your parents are giving you. And how could you not like it? Like, call me nuts, but if I didn't have to pay for it, I would take any car that anyone gave me. Like, if tomorrow I walked outside and somebody was like, hey man, do you want this free Toyota Camry? I'd still be like, whoa, this is awesome, thank you, hell yeah. Especially if my parents were buying me like a sick sports car, I'd be pretty cool with it. I wouldn't be too upset. I'd be incredibly thankful. And that's when the dad starts trying to talk back, but instead of telling the kid to just like kick rocks, he starts trying to explain himself, which is nuts to me. I feel like I wouldn't be trying to explain myself. You just don't get the car now, I'll take it. But he starts to tell this kid that like, yeah, the insurance on a coupe would be too high because it's a 2-door. The insurance would be higher for you on that. And listen, man, like, I will say, I think buying your kid a $100,000 car is stupid. I just think that's a very dumb move. That being said, if you're gonna buy your kid a $100,000 car, the insurance is a funny thing to be upset about. If you're upset about that, you should have gone the Toyota Corolla route. And the kid responds to his dad being like, you can't have a 2-door because of the insurance, by just screaming at him, being like, you cheap old man, just pay for the insurance, which is also not something that I'm supporting, bro. I don't know why you're screaming at your dad. He shouldn't be paying for your insurance at all. I think overall this entire car is just a huge mistake. I can't believe he'd be telling his dad that he sucks for not being willing to pay for the insurance too. I'm pretty sure if your parents buy you the car, no questions asked, the thing you have to do is pay for the insurance. I just feel like that's a fair trade-off. Here, son, I paid the $105,000 for you to have this sick car. You just pay the couple $100 a month to drive it, and it is a point too that like, yeah, insurance is more expensive in a 2-door car, especially if you're a guy under 25. Insurance just is expensive. Anyways, the dad at that point finally starts to get mad, but just not at the son. He's like, hey, turn that camera off, because obviously they had been filming this and this is not what they're looking for, footage of him being insulted, I'm sure. So then he looks at his son and he's like, are you being serious right now? You really aren't happy with this? Like, I thought you were gonna like it. And at this point, I'm assuming that he's like, well, if you don't like this and you're gonna be ungrateful, then I'll take back the car. That's what I was expecting him to do, but the dad's like, are you really don't like this? And he's trying to keep it down, be quiet. The kid does not try to keep it down or be subtle at all, though. No, you absolute buffoon. Why did you think that this was something I wanted? How many times do I have to tell you exactly what I want before you just get it, you idiot? Listen, dude, like, regardless of whether or not I had a bunch of money to be buying my kid a $100,000 car, because it's still really stupid. If my kid started calling me a moron in front of a bunch of people because I bought him the wrong car, then like, I don't know, man, I'll just go get it ripped up by that dinosaur that destroys cars. I want you to tell me that you're going to get me the car. I don't want to hear anything else. Like, that's what the son says next before the dad can open his mouth. I don't want to hear any more excuses from you until I get the car I wanted instead of whatever that is. And he pointed at the car that had the bow on it, and then he like stormed out and got on the phone. And you couldn't really hear what he was saying on the phone, but he was talking to whoever was on the other end so loudly that you could hear him like through the glass. And so the dad starts to look around and sees a lot of, workers and people staring, because that was very loud and there was literally no way to avoid it, and it was just very uncomfortable. And he starts screaming at everybody for some reason, not his kid. No yelling there, just at everybody looking. You guys got me the wrong car. I told you I wanted a 2-door. I want you to change it now. stop looking. It's not funny. And the manager comes out to see what's going on because the workers are kind of like, what? And the manager is like, hey, man, look, you already purchased this car, talking about the one that had the bow on it. You know, you can't just return it. And he's like, well, you got me the wrong one. And the manager's like, no, I didn't, dude. We just sat in my office and did the paperwork for an hour. This is the car you picked. We had conversation after conversation about why you were getting it, you know? So listen, I'm more than happy to like talk to you and try to work something out, but come on, let's not pretend that I gave you the wrong car. This is definitely the car you picked. Well, you know, my son doesn't want this car. He wants a two-door car, so you need to make that happen. If there's not a brand new two-door car here, then I'm gonna be pissed. And the entire time he's screaming at the manager and the workers, I'm really confused. Like, why are you yelling at them, dude? They gave you the car you wanted, they put the bow on it, they moved it into the showroom, they've done everything you've asked. The only reason you have to be mad is because you were a crappy parent, and listen, bro, that's kind of on your shoulders. It's not the random people working at the car dealership that have anything to do with your bad parenting. And the manager is like, look, okay, I can make a two-door happen, but you're gonna have to pay me a fee to restock this car and put it back as new, and on top of that, I'm also gonna like hold the fees from the deal. And the dad is like, I don't care what it costs, just make it happen. And obviously, you know, after hearing that, the manager didn't need to be convinced a bunch to A, get the brand new car back and keep money for it, and then B, sell this guy another new car. You know, the manager is probably like, ayo, this is a bag. Not only do I get to get him out of here, but on top of it, I get to sell him another car. And the fees from like buying a car aren't cheap, so if they got to keep those, this man's really out here just making a bunch of money off this dude being mad. And like on top of it, now this dude's willing to buy another one. You know, so the dad's screaming there about how they need to make it happen, and he doesn't care what the number is. He just wants his son to be happy and blah, 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 blah. And the manager's like, all right, man, if you say so. I feel like that's a very expensive thing to say in a car dealership, just make it happen. But regardless, the dad's like, make it happen, and storms out to his son to, you know, talk to him, I guess, about how everyone here is an idiot because he bought his kid the quote-unquote wrong car. At that point, my kid would just be walking everywhere, bro. I don't have a kid, but if I did and I bought him a car and he like had this reaction, wow, son, congratulations. You've earned the best transportation of all time, putting one foot in front of the other. That's what you'll be taking everywhere from now on. You know, I literally giggled when he went outside. I wasn't trying to be mean, but like just thinking about what would go down if I did that was making me laugh. How rich does this guy have to be where like spending $100,000 on a car means nothing? You know, like first of all, that's nuts. Second of all, if you are that rich that you're just out here dropping $100,000 on a car for your son to inevitably wreck in 2 months, and then literally just paying a couple thousand to get a different car than the one you already bought, how are you also that angry where you're just screaming at everyone? Like, listen, if I'm ever in a position where I'm dropping $105,000 before breakfast, that's nuts. That's like literally stupid money. That is money so dumb it can't spell the word the. You know, I definitely would not be so angry on the inside that I could still be screaming at managers. Like, whatever, okay, dude, take a little bit longer to fix the car. It's fine, I'm basically a billionaire. Okay, not really. You know what I'm saying, though. Like, but if you're dropping $105,000 like it's nothing, you got a lot of money. Only reason you should be that mad is if you're taking out loans to do it. Anyways, for the next little bit, the dad and his son are outside, and I didn't really hear or see anything. I didn't really feel like it. I had kind of gotten into Clash of Clans at that moment. You know, Town Hall 13 stressful. I had stuff to do. Regardless, after a few minutes, they end up coming back into the dealership, and this time they look a little bit more united, you know, as if they had had a little bit of a peace talk out there, and they had realized that if they came together and used their powers to scream at everyone, they'd be unbeatable. But they come back inside and they're like, we need to talk to the manager. And the manager goes and takes them to this back room. And the back room was like on the other side, and it was this glass door, but like frosted so you couldn't see in. Anyways, they all went into the back room, and around then my car was ready. So I went to like talk to the guy in charge of that department to get my keys and, you know, pay and all that stuff. And as I'm checking out talking to this guy, we start to hear noise from the back room. And we can't really hear exactly what they're saying, but it's definitely obvious that like two people are screaming very angrily, and then like there's a little bit of quiet because the other person's not screaming back. So it's pretty obvious that, you know, the son and dad are wombo comboing the manager, and he's just in there trying to 1v2. Apparently they were still very upset, you know, that the dad had bought a car and the car that they bought had been delivered or whatever. Even though that's just kind of how it works, man. I don't know why you expected them to bring a 2-door car when you bought a 4-door one. Why did you guys do that? I don't know, man. You signed the paperwork and paid for it. We were just doing what you paid for. Regardless, he was literally freaking out so much that you could just make out faint yelling from the other side of the dealership. And at that point, I wasn't really trying to stick around. You know, I had made a mistake of not going home in the first place while I was sitting here. So obviously the guy's like, all right, let's get you out of here. I get my keys really quick and I'm walking out. And I made a joke about like, oof, that sucks. You know, at least you don't have to deal with that every day. And the guy's like, no, that dude comes in here pretty often and he's basically always like this. And obviously at that point, I just had to ask, like, what do you mean? Because this was just hilarious to me. And apparently about like once a month, this dude came into this dealership to buy a car and then something always went wrong and it was always that guy's fault. Like he would buy a brown car and then be mad it was brown or whatever. And he would just always end up screaming like at everybody, which once again, how rich are you, bro? Like you're literally in here buying a car every month, my goodness. And also another question, if you are in here buying a car every month and it's always really bad, then like why are you still shopping here and giving them your money if you're always having such a horrible experience? Listen, I'm not out here buying a car every month. I don't know anything about that. That being said, if I like shopped at a local grocery store and the workers were always really, really mean, I would just stop going there. You know, it just seems kind of dumb to me that you're going to give this company a lot of money. Like if you're buying a car a month, you're buying a lot of product from them. They're making a lot of money off you. If you have to scream at them every time you come in, to me it just seems dumb to keep coming, because why would they treat you any better if you're just going to keep handing over the Benjamins, baby? Regardless, I was just kind of like, well, that sucks. Good luck dealing with that, and skedaddled pretty quickly before they came back out of the back room. I wasn't trying to see what the fuss was about, and, you know, ended up going home, going about my business, not trying to fight my dad because he got me the wrong car, because, you know, I paid for my car. Imagine your parents giving you a car and you throwing such a fit that they basically are forced to eat a couple $1,000s in fees just because you didn't like how many doors it had, bro. And also imagine being such a crappy parent that your kid can bully you into eating a couple $1,000s in fees because he doesn't like how many doors the car has. Like, honestly, no matter which way you swing it, everybody sucks in this situation. But I will say it's obvious that the apple don't far fall from the tree, you know. You screaming at car workers and people at the dealership every day probably isn't giving your son a bunch of, good, what is it, you know, a good example on how he should be not screaming at you. Regardless, guys, I just thought that would be a pretty good story time. Hopefully you enjoyed. If you did, I'd appreciate you taking a second to press the like button. Let me know in the comments section down below what you thought, and of course, subscribe if you're new. If you really want to help me out, I'll put a link to the intro song in the description, along with the link to my podcast, The Scuffed Cast, or you could use code SCRUBBY at the G Fuel checkout to get a discount on G Fuel. I'd appreciate it. And last but not least, two more things I gotta plug. You can check out the story times. I put them on Spotify a couple days after they're posted here, so if you want to listen to those without gameplay or offline, that link's in the top of the description. Check it out. And the link in the bottom of the description is going to be a link to the merch store. It is the coolest merch to ever exist, so you should definitely get yourself some. I'd appreciate it. And yeah, on that note, guys, that'll do it. Don't get anyone pregnant. If you do, make sure they're hot, and hopefully I'll see you guys next time. I'm out. Peace.